When's the last time that you did something that was just for you? Not something that your business needed for it or from you, and not for your family because they were counting on you to be somewhere, just for yourself. And I'm not talking about a vacation where you went to go be with your family, but you actually spent half of the time checking Slack in the hotel bathroom. I mean, something where nobody actually needed anything from you, and that was okay with you. Now, if you're sitting there and you honestly cannot answer that question, it's not by accident. Okay, what it is a pattern that you've developed over time. And a lot of you watching this may not even be aware of that pattern. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about today in this video. Look, working with business owners who are running 7-figure businesses, they're in charge of a team. Sometimes it's 5, 10, 15, maybe even upwards of 20 people. Like, these business owners are not people who are struggling to figure out the basics in business and getting it off the ground. They've already done that. They've built something successful and it's proven at this point. And when I got on a call with them, the thing that keeps coming up isn't this strategy problem or the next strategy that they need to put in place or the better systems to optimize their business. It isn't even their team, right? Although they do think it is that stuff. It's that they've never stopped. They've never given themselves space to actually detach from the business and disconnect. And look, things are really going well, really well in their eyes. And that's almost the problem here, because good has a way of keeping you busy and distracted, so much so that you never actually stop and ask whether it's really great or if there's opportunity to grow. And nobody around you right now is going to ask that question, because honestly, from where they're standing, like, you've got it all handled, you've got it all together, you've got the ideal here. Okay, but what keeps happening, and what I keep watching across all these clients, client after client, it doesn't matter what industry they're in or how big their business is, honestly. Like, I had a client not that long ago, it was the middle of the call, and they just volunteered this, right? And they said they hadn't even eaten yet. It was almost 2 p.m. Almost 2 p.m. They had meal preps sitting in the fridge. They've already paid for it. It's already prepared. They probably just have to stick it in the microwave, but they haven't touched it. They hadn't given themselves 20 minutes at the most to just sit down and eat a meal. And when I asked them about it, there was this pause. Then they said, I just felt like I couldn't stop. So it has nothing to do with actual time. It's someone who has gotten so good at staying needed that doing something for themselves, even a basic thing as eating lunch, felt like it had to be earned first. And then another client carrying this pressure as they came into a call, like I could just hear it in their voice. And I asked, hey, where are you feeling this in your body? And they just pointed to their chest, like this weight they were feeling in this chest. So I walked them through just 3 breaths. That's all, 3 breaths. And after that, they just went quiet for a second. And then they said it was gone. They had been carrying that for months at this point. And they looked, and I don't even want to say relieved, it's more like they were in disbelief that it was that simple, right? Like, they couldn't believe they just never stopped long enough to acknowledge it and let it go. And then there's another person who told me the gym was the only hour in their entire weeks and days where nothing was actually demanded of them. 1 hour. And they almost canceled it and skipped out on it, right? They almost talked themselves out of going to the gym for themselves, because somewhere along the way, doing something purely for themselves had started to feel like they were being irresponsible by taking care of themselves. Like, they were taking something away from everyone else by taking something for themselves. Look, in all 3 of those scenarios, the same pattern, but 3 completely different people. And underneath all of that, okay, this wiring that says slowing down means you're falling behind or you're failing or you're letting others down. That if they're not solving something, carrying something, or being needed by someone, that they're losing ground, right? They're not staying ahead of the curve. And look, they didn't just decide to think that way. It got built into them, right? By the environment that they grew up in or that they operated in, by the people that they were surrounded with, by the years of being the one who just figured it all out, who held everything together and showed up when everyone else just couldn't or wouldn't. And ultimately, you get rewarded for that long enough, right? And your whole system learns that this is who you are. Nobody came up to you and just directly handed this belief to you on a platter so you can consciously just accept it. You absorb this over time, and you've never really stopped, slowed down, and zoomed out enough to see it much longer, look at it. And what they've actually gotten good at isn't being productive. It's staying busy and just keeping themselves distracted with things, keeping the engine running, so they never have to sit in the quiet long enough to feel what's really underneath all of this. That silence is deafening to them. Okay, and I sit here and I say this not to be harsh on you. Okay, I say it because that is the thing that's actually in your way right now. So a few years ago, I read this book, 10x is easier than 2x by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. And there is a line in that book that when I read it, it just stopped me cold and it has never left me. It became the foundational principle, like not just how I live my life or run my business, but also how I show up as a coach and the way I work with every single person that works with me. And the line is this: your ability to turn on 100% is directly related to your ability to turn off 100%. Now, once I read it, I couldn't unsee this line, and it was just ingrained in my brain. And what made it click for me wasn't the fact that it was this self-care principle that you go and do, or this work-life balance formula or equation. Okay? It's just simply like, that's just how it works. Okay? And on so many levels, it's proven with research and psychology and performance. Guys, you even see it in professional athletes who are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them even millions, on their recovery and the maintenance for their bodies. And that's why sports, they have an off season. So when you never fully decompress, you are never actually giving yourself the chance to run and operate at your best. But here's the thing in all of this, okay? You don't feel that. You don't notice it because you've just normalized and become good at running at 80%. And that's what's become your new 100%. Okay, you've normalized the weight that you carry. You've raised the floor of what exhaustion actually feels like. And you've just honestly accepted it as a new baseline. And you cannot see what you're leaving on the table because you're just too deep inside of it. Okay, you cannot see the picture when you're in the frame, and you are super deep in the frame right now. And in all of this, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about people who you look at and their lives are falling apart or they're in crisis, right? The people that I'm honestly describing and talking to right now have figured out how to override their system and keep functioning at this suboptimal level. They're winning by so many different measures here, but at their best, a version of themselves they keep saying they want to get to and they know they can, that's not what is showing up yet in them. Okay? Because the ceiling isn't this external thing. It's something internal. It's inside of them. It's in the patterns, the wiring that they have, and what they're just carrying inside that they never seem to put down or let go of. And that thing moves the moment you give yourself permission to actually stop, slow down, zoom out, and let go. Right now, I want you to picture something. I want you to imagine yourself sitting at a bus stop. And this isn't the first bus that's come by. A few have already pulled up, opened the door like, hey, get in, get in. And each time you sat there and you've talked yourself out of getting on that bus. You start thinking about, well, what if something breaks while I'm gone? What if this is the wrong call? What if I shouldn't do that? What if I step back and actually disconnect for a moment, but everything just falls apart while I'm gone? So the bus pulled away and you stayed there on that bench. And there's this quiet thing that just builds each time that happens, right? And it's this low-level resentment, this sense of like, I should have gotten on that one. Why can't I just do it? But you couldn't commit because you were so focused on what you stood to lose that you never once asked, like, what is there to gain? What's the benefit of doing this, right? But now the bus is here again. And guess what? You can get off wherever you want. But if you keep sitting on that bench, you'll never know what's on the other side of it, what's waiting for you, what the possibilities are. And part of you really wants to find that out. There's part of you that's tired of sitting on the bench. There's part of you that knows this isn't what you're built for. okay? That you're built for something bigger than this, right? And the people who've stepped on the bus, who've actually given themselves the space to get out of the frame for a minute, they come back different. They feel different, they operate different, they see things differently. And there wasn't some mystical awakening that happened to them, right? They just finally got to see the picture from outside of the frame. And they came back, they were clearer, they were more present, they were more themselves, and they were actually able to do things better. And so many of the problems they thought they had solved themselves by just giving themselves some space, more space than they had ever given themselves in years. So here's what I want to leave you with right now. Right? What would it look like for the people around you to actually get the best of you and not just what's left of you? Like, sit with that one. Give yourself a moment here, and better yet, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes and actually answer that question. And I mean actually answer it. Grab a pen and paper and write out the answer to that question. And be honest. Do not hold back here. And also, don't just give it a half effort and say, like, I thought about it for 30 seconds and you just check the box there. Give yourself some space and answer the question. Look, if something in this video landed and you want to actually do something and take some action, I built something for exactly this and for you. And it's a small group retreat in Big Bear Lake, California, July 16th through the 19th. 6 to 8 people max are going to be here. And it's 3.5 days to completely step outside of the normal day-to-day, zoom out, reset, and honestly get around of a group of like-minded business owners and leaders just like you. Okay? So if you're interested in that and know somebody is, I'll put the link with the full details in the description below. Everything you need is there. And if you go through that, you have any questions or I can fill any gaps here, you can always DM me on Instagram. Now, with that being said, I just appreciate you being here. Appreciate your support. If there's any value in this for you, give this video a like, subscribe. Of course, it helps out, and I'm always grateful for the support. And on that note, I will catch you on the next one.